By the time we arrive in the Minolet Sea, the only one near enough to talk to is Catherine Sunday. It would appear that we just missed an encounter with plenty of other people, by a few millennia. If we decide to wander around Moaya Atoll long enough and ride one too many whale sharks, we'll find ourselves stumbling into some peculiar structures with evidence of an ancient civilization. For clues on who lived here and when, we can look towards 6 stone slabs scattered around the ruins. The slabs themselves don't mean much to us, as they are carved from a foreign rock in a dead language. Examining the slabs only gives us the barest idea of what the script could be telling us. Fortunately for us, Catherine has connections with people more geologically and linguistically inclined. From an analysis of the rocks, we can learn 2 things. Firstly, that the rocks date anywhere from 3000 BC to 8000 BC. This wide gap is attributed to the fact that we don't know how long the stones were submerged. Secondly, we are told that the rock is quartz diorite, a type of stone that is found in many places around the world but not within the Pelago Commonwealth. This suggests that people from here were interacting with cultures from one of these areas, centuries, or more likely millennia before the Great Pyramids were built. And speaking of Egypt, just as we used the Rosetta Stone to learn their language, these ancient Pelagoans left a similar artifact. Around the ruins, we'll find the inscribed nephrite in 4 pieces. Once we find all of the pieces and send our findings to the local university's director of archaeology, we'll be able to make out certain passages from the slabs. The anger of ancient ones brought flood to the white king of the 7 tribes. The king, proof in hand, fought the flood god with the storm god by his side. Final days. The king gave a gem to the Dark One and ordered him to follow the princess. Final days. The king gave a bracelet to the White One and ordered him to follow the prince. Eternal sleep covers the earth. These are our kingdom's final days. The king defeated. The city flooded. His descendants built a new city to the west. Let's unpack that. The story tells about a few characters. Let's organize them. The first line, the anger of ancient ones, brought flood to the white king of the 7 tribes, tells us that the ancient ones and the flood god are united against the king. We'll call them Team Ancient and Team 7 Tribes. Can we glean anything else from these characters, though? We do find a jewel carved from nephrite associated with the storm god. The Jewel of Life, as it's called, is carved to look like a shark, and we're informed that the goddess is also attributed with orcas and battle. Since this jewel is associated with the god associated with orcas, we can surmise that the Dark One was an orca, and the gem was the Jewel of Life. Since the Dark One is an orca, we can assume that the White One is another animal. Another artifact can help us find the identity of this being as well. After the player has deciphered all of the tablets and explored a bit further, they can find the ancient bracelet. It bears the same crest as that found on one of the stone tablets from the ruins. Upon seeing it, Cat tells us, "This reminds me of an old Pelago folktale about a kingdom long ago that was threatened by a great flood and of a brave prince who could control dolphins using the power of a mysterious bracelet. Anyway, he used it to avert the disaster and all was well. The bracelet in the story was said to be very distinctive, an item truly fit for a king and possessing unique powers. Could this really be the same item? It might be a good idea to wear it, for good luck." This fits perfectly within the story from the ruins. The White One was given the bracelet and told to follow the prince. Using this bracelet, he was able to defend his new home. When the player dons the bracelet, they are able to find the beluga in the prince's room, giving us the identity of the White One. From this, we know that the Storm God is associated with the Dark One, and likely the White One as well. Further, they are each associated with the princess and the prince respectively. While there isn't much the game tells us about the Ancient Ones, we do find an artifact that shines some light on the identity of the Flood God, and by extension, the Ancient Ones. Scattered across the ruins, we can find the 4 pieces of the deity idol. As the jewel was associated with the Storm God and the Dark One, and the ancient bracelet was associated with the White One, it would make sense that the other artifact we found would be associated with the Flood God. What, then, can we learn about the Flood God from the idol? As we find each of the pieces, we receive emails and hear a disembodied voice. Each email is progressively more frantic about us finding the idol. The sender warns us that there is a punishment coming for us, with the end of their emails implying that it found them. They repeatedly warn us that the fear and madness that this entity will subject us to will turn our hair, quote, whiter than white. The disembodied voice is even less coherent, only relaying to us the simple message, "Child of Hin and Hone, there is a curse upon us. There is punishment in store. You must atone to the sleeper." Once we've heard all the messages and have completed the idol, Cat tells us that the deity being tattooed is something the Pelargoans used to show that a god was from another culture. Based on what we have seen of the other artifacts, we can assume that the Sleeper and the Flood God are two names for the same entity. And with that, I believe we have enough clues to find the identity of the Flood God. From the emails, we know that this entity will be so horrifying that it will turn your hair whiter than white. From the moniker given by the disembodied voice, we know that the entity is known for the fact that it lies sleeping, waiting to be awoken. Our last clue is that Cat tells us that the god was not originally from this region. My theory is that the identity of the Flood God is the pop culture icon and eldritch abomination, Cthulhu. Cthulhu, for those unfamiliar, is a creature created by H.P. Lovecraft and is the embodiment of anxiety and madness. For the time being, the thing lies asleep in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, but its presence is felt across the world, as he is able to commune with people through their dreams. These visions can show the nature of Cthulhu and what is to come, sometimes inciting anxiety to the point of incoherence. It's prophesied that one day he will awaken and usher in an era free from morality, described as, quote, a holocaust of ecstasy and freedom. As outlined in Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu, he was once briefly awoken by an earthquake to the surprise of 11 sailors. 9 of the men were killed. 1 went insane from the mere sight of the beast. The only remaining man, Gustav Johansson, returns home to find his hair had been turned white from the trauma of seeing the beast. From this story alone, we can see that Cthulhu perfectly fits all 3 clues the game set forth. The Flood God is the Sleeper, who is Cthulhu. Well, that's what I think anyway. Let me know in the comments if you agree or if you have anything else in mind. If you like this, follow me here or on Twitter at ChekhovStuff to keep up to date with my mania.